Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits, possibly fast forward edition, most likely. So fast forward. Today's video is on a movie that I wanted to see for a while, but it was in theater so quick I missed it. I kept waiting for it to pop up in the dollar theater, and it never did. Today it came out on Amazon Instant Video, I guess, or whatever. Or Prime Video, whatever the hell they call it. And I got to see it there, finally. So it's not necessarily in the theaters, but it is something from this year. I finally got around to seeing it. I wanted to review it, so here's my quick review of it. And that is Yoga Hosers, the new film by director Kevin Smith, about two teenage girls who do yoga and fight monsters. Yeah, okay. So, what did I think of the movie overall? I actually liked it. I know a lot of people are slamming it, saying, Kevin Smith just makes crap now, and, he needs to lay off the pot and all that, but you know what? He's making movies that he wants to make because he's already made $1 million. He doesn't really need your guys' money anymore. He's just doing stuff to have fun. And you can see that in this movie. It's just him behind the camera, making jokes and having a good time. So what is the movie about? Well, again, it's loosely based off of one of his podcasts, except unlike the Tusk podcast, the Yoga Hosers podcast didn't actually have anything to do with this story. It was just them reading a news story out of, I think it was Quebec or something like that, and Scott Mosher made the comment that the guy in the photo looked like a yoga hoser. So that kind of made Kevin laugh, and then they just kind of joked about, this yogi guy, and being from Canada, and that's where Yoga Hoser came from. Where the rest of the movie came from is Kevin Smith, when he was making Tusk and he cast his daughter, Harley Quinn Smith, and her best friend in real life, Lily Rose Depp, as these two convenience store clerks. He fell in love with those characters because they reminded him of his original characters of Dante and Randall from Clerks. And then he was looking back at all of his films and he realized that there's nothing really there for his daughter. Like, he could let her watch all the movies and sure, she might laugh at him, but there was nothing really there for a teenage girl. They're all kind of like teenage to college age boy stoner kind of films. And he's like, I never really made anything for her, so what if I took these two girl clerk characters because he loved the characters that much because they reminded him of Dante and Randall, and what if I put them in their own movie where it's just a teenage girl movie? It's targeted towards like 12 to 16-year-old girls, and that's what he wrote. And he just happened to make it into a monster movie to go with his True North trilogy thing that he's doing. And he made the two female characters yoga enthusiasts. So there came in the name Yoga Hosers. So that's the story about how this movie came to be. So now what was the movie itself actually about? Well, it starts out with these two teenage girls, who are 15 and a half, by the way. They make a comment about that in the movie when someone calls them 14-year-olds. And they're just going about their day-to-day lives. They're attached to their phones. They constantly have to have their phones with them. They're going through their regular high school lives where Harley Quinn's character wants... Well, they're both named Colleen, but they have different last names, so I'm not going to call them by their film names because I'll be referring to both of them as Colleen at that point, so I'll probably just refer to them as Harley and Lily. So Harley's character is interested in this senior boy who invites them to a party, and he has a douchebaggy friend who no one really likes, not even him really, but he's just kind of there. And he kind of plays like wingman to try to keep Lily entertained while this other guy hits on Harley. But Lily's just like, no, I'm not interested in you, period. And that doesn't really change throughout the movie. So they do their high school thing, they go back to work at the store, and weird things are happening around the store, but at first they play it kind of subtle, so you don't really pick up on it at first. And then that brings us to Friday night, where the girls normally don't work. They're usually off on Friday. But since the store manager is going to Niagara Falls, by the way, it's Lily's in-movie father, who manages the store, or owns the store, I guess. He's taken off to Niagara Falls with his girlfriend, so the girls end up having to work on Friday. Now, where this throws a monkey wrench into the plans is they were invited to their first ever senior party on Friday night. So they're upset because they didn't get to go to the party. So as they're in the store, they decide that since the store is completely empty and no one's there, why not just bring all the people over there and have a party in the store? Well, it turns out the party is actually not a party. It's kind of lame. It's just the two boys. So the two boys show up at the store, and that's when the monsters finally attack. Like, you slowly see the monsters kind of appearing here and there, but they don't really do a whole lot. I think they kill like one person up until then, and it's Harley Morstein from Epic Mealtime. So they kill him, and then you don't really see much of him again until this party. And that's when they come out in force and attack. So, of course, the girls being the heroes of the film, they fight them off with the power of yoga. So basically, yoga is like their form of martial arts, and they're just kind of like, where normally if someone was doing yoga when someone was attacking them, they'd probably not survive. But somehow, miraculously, these girls actually pull it off, and they do it on more than one occasion. So there's some twists and turns, and eventually we find out that there's this Nazi scientist who lives nearby who is producing these monsters. So, of course, the girls go to confront him. And everything could have easily been resolved, except the resolution would come through the use of their phones. And at this point, they've actually separated from their phones. They finally, forcefully broke the tether of having to have their phones at all times. So the fact they don't have their phones, he's like, what? You don't have your phones? You always have your phones. And because they don't have them, that's basically when all hell breaks loose and we have basically the big final battle. And, of course, it's a feel-good teen girl movie, so of course it's going to have the girls win through the power of yoga. And that basically wraps up the movie. So, was it a good movie, or was it a bad movie? Well, it was what it was intended to be. Let's say that. It's a teen girl movie. It has a lot of things I personally feel a teen girl would kind of relate to and maybe like, which is why it has a PG-13 rating. It has a little bit of a monster movie element, so, some girls like that, other girls don't. That might be what appeals it to the guys. But overall, it is what it was meant to be, which is a cheesy 80s style B horror movie. We have a couple characters who end up fighting this clearly guy in a rubber suit monster, and it's played up for comedic value. And that's exactly what it was meant to be, and that's exactly what it is. So if you like 80s cheesy B horror movies, then you'll probably like the movie if you can get past the first 20 minutes or so of teenage girl drama. The only downfall to it I really saw was, again, with it being a Kevin Smith film, it is very dialogue heavy at certain points. A lot of that probably could have been trimmed down and made the movie flow a little bit better. But at the same time, there's information that's given through the dialogue that you really have to be paying attention to through the long-windedness of it to really catch on to everything that it's actually giving away. Again, the main long dialogue-heavy point is with Johnny Depp's character, Guy Lapointe, where he just kind of talks endlessly about what seems like nothing, but it actually gives you quite a bit of information. It's almost like these films are semi-held back by the Guy Lapointe character, but I know Kevin and Johnny both love the character, and he's going to be in Moose Jaws as well. But at the same time, that's the main point when these films start to drag a little bit. Even with Tusk, Guy Lapointe went on for 20 minutes in that movie of just dialogue and dialogue and dialogue, but if you actually break down everything he said in Tusk, he actually gives you quite a bit of information that actually makes that film a lot darker than what it initially appeared to be. And again, that kind of fits in with this one, but not as well in this one. So honestly, the first time in Tusk, it worked. In this one, it probably could have been trimmed back a little bit. Not a whole lot, but just, shave maybe 5 minutes off of that Guy Lapointe conversation. It probably would have made the movie flow a little bit better and not just brought the film to a dead stop and took you out of everything that it had built up to that point. Other than that, though, like I said, it is what it was intended to be. It's a 80s style B horror flick targeted towards teenage girls. And it hit its mark. I can't discredit it for that. I enjoyed the film for what it was. It was a fun watch, for me at least. You might not like it, especially if you're not a fan of Kevin Smith stuff or even more recent Kevin Smith stuff. But yeah, it is what it is. So what would I give it as far as a star rating? I'm going to give it a 3. And not just because it's a middle-of-the-road thing. I was actually going to give it a little bit higher than that. I was going to say it was a 3.5. But like I said, that Guy Lapointe commentary kind of takes you out of the movie. Like, I was actually getting immersed in the movie and getting immersed in these girls' lives, and then it's like, here's 25 minutes of dialogue about random stuff that could have been trimmed down, and then, oh, by the way, here's the movie again, you know? So any tension that had built up at that point, it broke a little bit for the heavy dialogue, but it's not hard to get back into it. By the end of it, I was like, okay, yeah, that was fun. So it was going to be a 3.5, but because of that extended dialogue, I'd move it down to a 3. But overall, I still liked it. If you like Tusk, then you'll probably like it. If you don't like any of his newer stuff, don't bother to watch it, because you're not going to like this either. Yeah, not much else more to say about it than that. Still looking forward to Moose Jaws. It sounds like it's going to be fun. But that's really it for this review. It's got a little bit long. I don't know if I'm going to be able to trim this down to a fast forward length, but I might be able to. But yeah, so that's it for this episode. Again, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the video. The links are in the description. And until next time, we'll see you after the credits.